She called the divorce an upgrade. I called it letting reality take over.
She didn't call it a divorce at first. She called it an upgrade. We were sitting at the kitchen table, the same one where we'd planned vacations, argued about paint colors, and helped our daughter with her homework. She spoke calmly, confidently, like she'd rehearsed it in front of a mirror. She said she had outgrown the life we built, that she needed more, that she deserved better. Then she smiled and told me not to worry because she'd be fair. I listened without interrupting. When she finished, she waited for a reaction, tears, anger, bargaining, something dramatic enough to confirm that she mattered. Instead, I just nodded and said I agreed to everything. That caught her off guard. She slid a list across the table. The house, the car, the savings, spousal support. I didn't negotiate. I didn't argue. I didn't even ask questions. I just told her to have her lawyer send the paperwork. The relief on her face was unmistakable. She hugged me like she was doing me a favor. People think silence means defeat. Sometimes it just means you're already done fighting the wrong battle. The months after she moved out were strangely peaceful. The house echoed at first, but then it settled like it was exhaling. I adjusted my routines, cooked simpler meals, slept better. I focused on work, not just to distract myself, but because clarity makes you efficient. What she didn't know was that my agreement wasn't emotional, it was logistical. See, I've always worked in systems. Not the flashy ones, infrastructure, compliance, risk management. The parts of businesses people ignore until something breaks. Years ago, when she wanted to invest aggressively, I'd insisted on separating certain assets. She'd rolled her eyes and told me I was paranoid. I just called it preparation. When the divorce finalized, she posted photos almost immediately. New clothes, new places, a new man who looked exactly like insecurity wrapped in confidence. The captions were all about finally choosing herself. Friends cheered. I liked nothing. I commented on nothing. She spent freely. Trips, furniture, parties. She wanted the world to see that she'd traded up. Then the letters started arriving. At first, she thought they were mistakes. Notices, audits, requests for documentation she couldn't provide. She called me angry, accusing me of sabotaging her. I reminded her I'd agreed to everything. I hadn't touched what she took. I had simply stopped managing what I no longer owned. The problem with upgrading your life without understanding how it was maintained is that appearances are expensive, and reality always invoices later. Her new partner disappeared quietly when the pressure showed up. Friends became harder to reach. The lifestyle she'd built required constant fuel, and the systems she assumed ran automatically just didn't. One night, months after the divorce, she showed up at my door. No makeup, no confidence, just exhaustion. She said she didn't realize how much I handled, that she thought things just worked. She asked if I could help her straighten things out. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt clear. I told her the truth. I had helped for years. She just never noticed because I made it look easy. I wasn't interested in fixing a life I no longer lived in. I wished her well and closed the door gently. The next time I heard about her, it was through mutual friends, downsizing, selling things, quietly retreating from the image she'd worked so hard to project. No dramatic downfall. Just gravity doing its job. My life didn't suddenly become extraordinary. It became honest. I rebuilt slowly, intentionally. I invested differently. I spent time with people who didn't need me to shrink so they could feel taller. I learned that being chosen isn't as important as being respected. Sometimes I think back to that kitchen table and the word she used, upgrade, as if people are devices you replace when a newer model appears. She was so focused on what she thought she deserved that she never stopped to ask what she already had. Agreeing to everything wasn't weakness, it was precision. I didn't need to win an argument. I just needed to step aside and let reality do what it always does. She wanted an upgrade. I gave her exactly what she asked for. What I kept was something better: peace, stability, a life that doesn't require validation to feel valuable. A future built on understanding, not illusion. And that turned out to be the real upgrade all along. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, be sure to subscribe for more.